Bethany Manctalo here. Welcome to our Millwall fan show with some new voices, but the same focus. Just everything Millwall. Enjoy!
Welcome to the 2023-24 series of Millwall No One Likes Us Talking's, our Millwall fan show. I'm your host, Myles Thornton, and with me are the No One Likes Us Talking team of Ted Robinson, Sreve Warren and Dave Hart.
Not everybody likes them, but they don't care.
Evening team and listeners. Well, a massive week for the football club this week as Joe Edwards was sacked as Millwall head coach. His assistant Andy Myers was also relieved of his duties. And former Millwall player, manager and legend of the club, Neil Harris, has taken up the head coach position with David Livermore coming in as his assistant head coach. Millwall Under-18s also beat Chelsea in the FA Youth Cup to progress into the semi-finals. Ted, we'll start with you, mate. It was a chaotic Wednesday, wasn't it?
The phrase coming to mind about it, week's a long time in football, because I think we was all in a bit of a state of depression after Saturday's performance against Sheffield Wednesday, which really did, I believe, dragged all of the fan base down, because that was the one game we see as a banker for ourselves, I think, in this present plight that we're in. And it didn't go to plan at all, and it was quite poor. There was nothing. There didn't seem to be anything coming back from the team. And even for me, who everybody knows me, I'm really positive now. I walked away from there thinking, we've just got no hope here. And I was looking at the next game coming up, Southampton, thinking it's a long week this week, and we've got that at the end of it. And then obviously there was the under-18s game on Wednesday night coming up. And then all of a sudden there was an explosion. Like you say, Joe Edwards got sacked, which I thought didn't surprise me, because I genuinely believed that if we were going to do something, you needed to do it soon, because the team looked bereft of any fight or anything on Saturday, I'm afraid to say. And I'm sorry to see Joe go, because he is a new coach. He may well turn out to be one of these guys that will always be a good assistant, if you know what I mean. Not the manager, but an assistant coach, a backroom man, or however you want to see it. But for whatever reason, he may have had us playing some nice football at times, but there didn't seem to be the understanding on how to win a game of football. And so I wasn't surprised when he went. Then all of a sudden, like a bolt out of the blue, along comes Neil Harris, and he's back in. And I thought to myself, where's that come from? But in hindsight now, a day afterwards, and looking at it and looking at the appointment, if you sat down and analysed after that game what I was thinking to myself, this team needs someone to inspire them. This team seems to need to get somebody inside them that knows what Millwall's all about, because they're not performing out there like a Millwall team. They might be playing a little bit more pretty football, but where's the fight that we're used to? Where's the fight that we want? Who's going to come in and give them that? Now, in these sort of situations, people turn to the usual suspects of likes of Sam Allardyce, Neil Warnock, and all of these. They're people who've got passion about them. And there's nobody more passionate about Millwall than Neil Harris. So, in that sense, it makes sense. Neil will make sure that everybody understands out on that pitch. Again, there might be a few that need to be made to re-understand what it is out there. To be a Millwall player, what it takes to be a Millwall player, what you need to have about you to be a Millwall player. Neil will make sure that they become a team again, in my opinion. So it sort of made some sense to me now. And I'm sure, I've got no doubt about Neil and his coaching capabilities, because people forget he got 82 points in the Championship with Millwall when he got us back up into the Championship, which I believe, I'm right in saying, is the highest number of points we've ever had in the Championship. Just unfortunate in a year that the playoffs were a little bit higher. So for people that turn around and say, oh, he ain't really, he's League One and all this, he's done it in the Championship. He had Cardiff in the playoffs. So Neil has got the pedigree. He's got the passion about him that I can relate to as a manager. I know he understands how I'm feeling on the terrace there, or the seating, sitting there watching a game of football. That's my team. I know my manager's going to be feeling exactly what I'm feeling. If it's hurt, he'll be hurting just as much. And that, to me, means a hell of a lot. With the best will in the world with Joe, I didn't really see that in him. That's not to say it isn't there, but I know that Neil Harris has got that. So, lo and behold, I'm feeling quite good. Along comes our jolly little under-18s, and what do? They make my world and all my Christmases come at once, because my son-in-law is a Chelsea fan, who I'll keep rattling onto him that the last time we played, we beat them. Chelsea don't beat Millwall, and I was hoping and praying for a miracle, and lo and behold, the boys pulled it off last night, and that gives me as much bragging rights as I want with my son-in-law until we actually meet Chelsea. So, and fair play to the boys. That's a fantastic achievement, because Chelsea are classed as probably the pinnacle in the youth teams. They've done, God knows how many times they've won the Youth Cup in the last few seasons and that. And by the way, to my few Chelsea mates who I happened to mention that we beat them in the quarter-final of the FA Cup, and took it like a bunch of sour losers anyhow. Up yours, mate, we beat you again. So happy days at the moment before the Southampton game. Happy Neil's in place. Happy Millwall beat Chelsea last night. It's brought a smile back to my face, and I can't say anything more than that. I've ranted on a little bit there, but I've enjoyed every minute of it. Thank you very much.
Steve, were you surprised to hear that Harris was returning?
Yeah, to be honest. After the time they took to appoint Joe Edwards, they sort of seemingly bring Neil back overnight was a bit of a surprise. I think it's a really great appointment. Hopefully he'll keep us up. But if we do drop, I think Neil will be a good manager for the rebuilding. He actually said in one of the interviews he's not the same person. He said he'll be a bit more adaptable, and he's talking all the right talk. So I think it's a good appointment. I think for him, getting some key players back will be important. And I think top of that list is going to be Hutchinson. I think we need someone to organise the defence, and I think he's the man to do it. But I suppose overall, I hope the Terraces get behind him and the team. We've got some difficult games coming up. Saturday, it's probably going to be the worst game to start. But so hopefully we can sort of settle down and get a run going. And, never know. We might still be here next year.
Exactly. Ted, Dave, did you feel the sack was looming for Joe Edwards?
Well, I mean, when Gary went, I was surprised that Joe got the appointment, and excited in a way, because the way he spoke about he's going to bring a new way to play football, and watching his style sort of grow as he was in the job, there were times when you felt things could actually turn and go a different way. But when you look at his term at the club, 19 games, 4 wins, 4 draws, lost 11. After Saturday's game, I came away and I thought, he's got to go, because if we don't do something now, time's going to tick away, and it'd be too late if you bring somebody in at a later date. By the time we got to Monday, he was still in post, and nothing was on the horizon. And as Ted and Steve have said, Wednesday came, and there was the explosion that every Millwall fan was absolutely probably knocked sideways about. And I'm looking forward to some sort of survival with Neil.
Definitely. We will take a break there and hear about our sponsors, G&M Motors.
Hi, this is Jess Tuffield from G&M Motors. Operating from a modern and purpose-built facility in Milton Road, Gravesend, G&M Motors offers a complete range of new Honda cars and services. As well as new Hondas, we have an extensive range of used cars, including ex-Motability cars from a variety of manufacturers. Specialising in new Honda cars, G&M Motors has been retailing quality new and used vehicles to the people of Kent and South East London for over 4 decades. We have been a Honda dealership since 1972 and are the country's longest serving supplier of this renowned marque. Conveniently sited just 2 miles from the A2, 10 miles from the M25 and Dartford Crossing, visitors to our showroom are assured a warm welcome from our experienced and friendly staff. Our facilities include an on-site workshop capable of providing full vehicle servicing and repairs, as well as an extensive parts department offering genuine Honda parts and accessories. The expertise of our skilled mechanics is not limited to just Hondas, but extends to most makes and models of motor vehicles. Whatever your motoring needs, visit us at G&M Motors today. The newly extended hours of our G&M headquarters means that you can contact us from 8 a.m. till 6 p.m. on weekdays and 9 a.m. till 6 p.m. on Saturdays. To contact us, call us today on 01474 365 026.
Thank you, Jess. Debbie Julian's here. Don't forget to call Jess on 01474 365 026. G&M Motors have been dear friends of the Julians family for over 4 decades now. From my dad Lenny to me, Debbie, Lions together.
I'm your host, Myles Thornton, and with me are the Noel Lights talking team of Ted, Steve and Dave. Many thanks to our sponsors, G&M Motors. Why not go along, check out the Hondas and see what else they have on site. Our first guest of the evening is well known to our team and the listeners. Born in Woolwich, he began his career in the youth ranks of Millwall, where he played as a defender and a midfielder, notably scoring one of 2 Millwall goals in the 1979 FA Youth Cup final win against Manchester City. And in the same season, he made his first senior appearance for Millwall in a 2-1 win versus West Ham, turning professional in August 1978. In 1981, Colchester United manager Bobby Roberts signed him from Millwall for a fee of £15,000. He went on loan to Wrexham in his final season and left Colchester in 1984, going on to play for Chelmsford City, Exeter City, Aldershot Town and Dulwich Hamlet before going back to Millwall in 1986. He left Millwall again in 1988, joining Millicoscan Palo, then going on to play for Colchester United again, and then to Wivenhoe Town, where he spent 6 years before retiring. He trained to be a PE teacher, receiving a BA Honours degree in Sport and Education from Middlesex University. He also served as manager at Wivenhoe Town and coach at Clacton, Heybridge and most recently Braintree Town. He is a panellist on the show and features alongside myself and Ted each month for the monthly podcast. Welcome to the show, the man, the myth, the legend, Phil Coleman.
Evening, Myles. Evening, Dave, Ted and Steve.
Evening,
Phil.
Great to be on the other side of the fence tonight.
Phil, before we get going, it's great to have you on the show as a guest, and obviously after 2 great careers, what do you do to keep yourself busy nowadays?
Yeah, Myles, I look back on those careers. I love talking about them. I've got thousands of memories and stories, and I miss them both badly. There's nothing better than playing pro football, and teaching was so rewarding. You know, I get to see kids nail a goal or make a rugby tackle or a basketball shot, and you get a buzz out of it. But I've gone from having 30 kids in front of me bombing around all day to absolute silence. And to be honest, there's days when I go for a walk and I pray that someone comes along and has a chat with me for an hour. But yeah, I do a little bit of coaching, see my grandkids more. And yeah, I've taken out a gym membership, so I'm probably fitter than I was when I was playing. But watch plenty of sport, get down the Den. I was there on Saturday for that debacle. And as you guys know, one day I'll probably start writing that book of mine. But I've got 10,000 stories, so that puts me right off doing it. But no, I'm all right. I'm okay, thanks, Myles.
Hi, Phil. Ted here, mate.
Hi, Ted.
All right, mate. Millwall U18s beat Chelsea in the FA Youth Cup on Wednesday night. A cup competition, I'm made to believe you've won before. Is that right, by any chance? Where have I heard that from? Who's ever told me that? I can't remember. But something about you might even scored a goal somewhere along the line. I don't ever remember you being a youth, Phil, to be quite honest. But anyway, did you play in the FA Cup at any point, youth team?
Yeah, I'll probably tell you that twice a week, Ted.
Oh, yeah, of course you do. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, definitely won the FA Youth Cup, Ted. And I'm actually turning to my left. I'm actually looking at the trophy right in front of me now. And
I'll tell you what, mate. Tell us what it feels like, because I've always had a deep passion of having to have played for Millwall if I ever could, which we all would have done as fans. What is that feeling like, actually being out there on the pitch, and how would them boys would have felt last night?
Well, it's 4 decades more on, and I just talk about it probably a couple of times a day. And the bloke that bumps into me, he probably gets it in the neck and he hears about it as well. But it was special times, special memories. It was great how it started. Obviously, I played for my school district. I played for London as a county. You get picked up by Bob Pearson and his coaching team. You're coached by Billy Neal as a 15, 16-year-old. You're playing in the South East counties. And then all of a sudden, you start seeing these other lads around you and you think, God, these ain't too bad. And we were lucky we had Oscar Arthur for a year. And the most important thing, which I think fans might not understand, but we were all supported by George Petty, Terry Long, and believe it or not, the board. Because I think in them days they invested in our youth team. So for me, from 16 to 18, I felt I belonged, and the manager had my back, and that felt great. And I'd also say the fans bought into us as well in a big way. And I was at the Den on Saturday, and there were fans coming up to me and talking about it, and it's almost like I was there. I remember where I was on the terraces at the old Den in that final versus City. I even got a message from a fan yesterday. He sent me a personal message wanting to talk about it because obviously the Chelsea game last night has fired up people's memories, and he's been going 60 years and he remembers it, and he wanted to talk about the Man City game. And Ted, that's priceless. To have fans coming up and wanting to talk to you about it was priceless. But as a player, I played beside 14 lads in that team, and we were aged between 16 and 18. So there were nearly 4 age ranges. From Dave Martin, who was still at school, I was the oldest in the team. And all 14 came through the youth ranks, signed apprentice and pro. All 14 played in the first team. I don't think that's ever been done and will never be done ever in the history of football. I'll be amazed if it has. And to put that team together with those coaches, 5 of that team came back and had a second spell. There was me, Kevin O'Callaghan, Dave Memmott, Tony Kinsella, and Dean Oryx, bless him. And that team was something else because we could fight the opposition. I mean, we had a right old tear up against Nottingham Forest away. And that was down to myself, Robbo, Paul Roberts. We had Jay Louse. I'll call him nickname. It's Dave Martin. Jock McKenna, Alan McKenna, Paul Robinson. We wouldn't take a backward step. But if you give the ball to Dave Memmott, Tony Kinsella, Kevin O'Callaghan, Chrissy Dibble, Gailey, Ian Gale, totally forgotten about most of the time. But what a baller he was. Andy Massey was in there, Dean Oryx, and we had the blocking goal, Peter Glazer, a great keeper. He's still the record appearance holder at Northampton Town. But the sad thing was, once we'd won it, and it was busted apart, which is another story. But we had a great balance in that team, and I'd probably say I've heard Tony Kinsella and Dave Memmott talk on the show over the last few weeks, and I think we beat Sunderland, but definitely after the Forest game, I just think we all knew we would win it. There was an absolute confidence and a buzz about us where we won a few games. We beat Norwich, Sunderland, Nottingham Forest, and all of a sudden, the next 2 games, Everton home and away, and Man City in the final, I think they were just going to win it. We had so much confidence, and then we had the fans backing us home and away. Hundreds were going away to these youth games, which it's mind-boggling to think that 300, 400, 500 would travel to Forest, Everton, and Man City in the final just to watch a bunch of kids play. So magical times, and that final and that night to almost have a full house. And at a time when the club was at the bottom of the league, we weren't quite relegated. I think a couple of days afterwards we drew to Wrexham 2-2. But to be in that squad and be in that team and around the time with a manager, I called George Petty my dad in football because he was the one that he wound me up because I played 3 games and then he dropped me. But he had my back. He put his arm around me in the tunnel and say, here's a 4-year deal. You'll do for me. And it was to be wanted at the club and a club that I'd come through as a kid, and to be around me, basically me mates. We were just a bunch of mates playing together. It was surreal, but absolutely fantastic. So, great memories. And I'll tell you as well, Ted, I bet those boys played Chelsea last night. I bet they are absolutely buzzing today because they're a good crop of boys. I've seen a few of them play in the under-21s. Good coaching. And if they take their chance, God dear me, they win a few games, particularly against Chelsea, and then all of a sudden the confidence grows. They will definitely have more belief in themselves. They'll believe in each other, and that will drive them on. They'll all be doing extra training. They'll want those pro contracts. They'll want to get in the first team, and there'll be a right buzz about the place for those lads because there was when I did it with my mates. And there's one little plot though, very similar to 1979. bottom of the league, FA Youth Cup run, and I just hope that it doesn't end up in relegation like it did in '79. So, yeah, but those boys will be absolutely buzzing today.
Hello, Phil. It's Dave here.
Oh, Dave.
Hello, mate. What did you make of Whirlwind Wednesday? You know, the second of Edwards and the return of Neil Harris.
Whirlwind Wednesday, guys. Yeah. I'd probably say was the appointment of Joe Edwards a risk. I know he was well regarded, but inexperienced at league level, and you're dealing with seasoned pros. But I also get that everybody needs a break, and obviously Joe got that break, and the club backed him. But as I've said on this show, as a host and as a guest, the Championship is one tough league, and unfortunately it's results based. It's a results based job. I don't think he knitted things together quick enough. He tried to play football. We saw signs of that, and some of the possession went up. But the teams in this league are really good sides, and they capitalise on any mistakes. And to be fair, I thought that defences, particularly the last three games, the defences, we have our initial Coventry 25 minutes, and then Middlesbrough 10 minutes, but the defences deal with everything we throw at them. You know, we get crosses in, they head it away. We've got pace, they deal with it. And I think for me, just need to go back to basics. It's okay trying to change in the middle of a season, but you've got to keep clean sheets, and that way you at least come away with a point. But it's such a brutal league, and there's big clubs, big budgets, some fantastic players, and Joe never had the time to make the changes that were meaningful and how to develop the team his way. So the league's all about winning points, and as we all know, you lose 5 or 6 games on the spin, and you pay the price. But I think Neil Harris coming in is probably a safe bet for the hierarchy. They know what they're getting in Neil. Neil knows the place. He would just come in and get straight onto things. There's no finding his way about the place. I think you guys mentioned earlier on that he will definitely motivate and demand. He'd probably play more direct football. He has done it at Gillingham and Cambridge, according to my scouts. I'm sure he'll tighten the whole thing up. He'll find a way of getting points as he did in his previous spell. And I'll probably suggest he will use our experienced players more. They're the ones you might have to rely on, so the likes of Saville and so on. But I will also say there's a lot of negativity on social media, and I've switched off most of it. We're not relegated, guys. We are definitely not relegated. There's 13 games to go. Yeah, we've had a poor run and we've lost games, but out of those 13 games, there's some tough games, but there's games where I call they're winnable. And we could probably win 6 games, get 15 to 18 points. That's still in our own hands. We're not relying on other clubs at the moment. We win our games that are winnable, and we get those points. And I'll also say that a new manager comes in, he generates a bit of a buzz. There's some energy in the place. The players lift themselves, and they'll want to show Neil Harris what he can do in the next couple of days and on Saturday. And Southampton's a tough game, but as I said, most of the games after that, you'd say we've got a chance of picking up points, and that's what it's all about at the moment. But it's still in our hands, and you just have to keep the faith, like one or two you guys said earlier on.
Hi Phil, Steve here.
Hi Steve.
All right, mate. You had 2 spells with Millwall. Apart from being a Millwall fan yourself, what made you want to come back for the second time?
I think I was unemployed. I left Aldershot. I mean, that's a story in itself. I signed for Aldershot under Ron Chopper Harris, and he was sacked after a year because the board bought him out and his mates out, and Len, whatever his name was, came in and said, anybody that Ron signed, I'm getting rid of. And he was true to his word. I think I was runner-up in the Player of the Year contest, and he still got rid of me at the end of my contract because Ron had signed him and he didn't like it. So I basically phoned up Roger Cross, who, as you know, was coaching the reserves at the time. And so this is the summer of 86. And I said, I haven't got a club. Can I just come in and keep myself fit? And he said, yeah. So I used to come in 2 or 3 days a week, drive down and train with the first team and the reserves. And at the same time, Alan Batsford and Mickey Leach were at Dulwich. And so I got a call from them and said, why don't you come in and play a few games for Dulwich? So I did that. And I scored on my debut for Dulwich. Chrissy Dibble, my old youth team mucker, he crossed a free kick and I scored on my debut for Dulwich. But I also played in the reserves. So there was no contracts or anything. So I was playing for Dullies on a Saturday, and then the reserves on a Wednesday, and looking after the young players in the reserves. And John Docherty pulled me one day and said, "I like what I see." So he signed me on a 2-year deal. He told me he wanted to build a strong squad. I'd play some games, and if I got better players, I wouldn't. And I think Bob Pearson, bless him, was right behind that, and instrumental in me coming back. And as I mentioned earlier, there were 4 others from my youth team that re-signed under the Doc. And that was an interesting time. But I actually had 3 spells at the club because a bit earlier on, again, I was out of work, out of football. And I came in, asked Jules Graham if I could come in and do a bit of training in about 83, 4. And for 2 months, I was playing in the reserves and I was playing for Exeter City. And I think I played about 6 games for Exeter whilst playing for Millwall reserves. And it got stupid. You'll love this, guys. It got stupid one day because Crossy wanted me to help the youngsters out and play in the reserves at Chelsea, 11 o'clock kickoff at Stamford Bridge. And Exeter City wanted me to play in the Football League at Newport that night at 7:30. And I played in both games in one day. I played for reserves, had a shower, jumped on the Intercity 125 and went down to Exeter and played for them in a league game. Got back at silly o'clock, back to Paddington and drove back to
What was your best game, Phil?
Oh, the reserves all day long. Because Crossy made me captain, I was quite proud of that. But but that's when, at the end of that period with Exeter, that's when Jules Graham put me in touch with Ron Harris at Aldershot. So that little spell in between there, that was my actual second spell. But the third spell that most people know as my second spell was coming back and playing under the Doc for 2 seasons.
Phil, what was your earliest memories of being a Millwall fan, mate?
I was 13, and when you're 13, you just I got my mates and knocking around on the Ferrer estate back then, and we decided to go down the Den. So we jumped on a train, probably bunked the fares in them days. Went down to New Cross. I remember walking down Brocklehurst Road, turning into the Den and seeing those lights. Back then, it's probably 10p for a kid. Walked through the turnstiles, up the steps of the Cold Blow Lane. I stood at the top. I can still see it now in my eyes. I just looked at this green baize under lights, and that was a wow factor. I ain't got my dad who used to take me to all sorts of grounds. He just loved football. So this was me on my own with my mates at the Den, standing at the back of the Cold Blow Lane, looking at that green baize and thinking, "Wow, this is spectacular." And then I remember Alf Wood was the first striker I saw play. The bloke was solid, absolute ruthless in the air. And then I saw these 2 big blokes at the back called Barry Kitchen and Alan Dorney. Later on, I saw Kingy. A few home games later, I saw Brian King, and he stood out. But Kitchen and Alan Dorney, to this day, probably the biggest influence on me as a 13-year-old. And it was, I'm going to be like them 2. And I've told Alan Dorney this, I told Kitch that, and they were the reason why I wanted to be a centre-back. I just watched them as a kid from the age of 13, and I went back to school, and you get your head down and you train even harder, and the harder you work, the luckier you get, is one of my favourite sayings. And I also went home and away after that. I mean, there was one story. I went to school, best be described as I wasn't in a uniform. I was ready to go to Aston Villa that night. I was only about 15, and I got an absolute lecture from the teachers in my school for not wearing the right kit, the school uniform. But I legged it from Blackheath, got a train, got on the old football special up to Villa Park, got bit by a police dog as we were corralled all the way to the ground. Got in about 1 o'clock in the morning. I forgot to tell my mum. She was panicking, "Where the hell are you?" I was a bit of a rebel at the age of 13 to 15 on the terraces, as you were back in those 70s. It wasn't easy being a Millwall fan, the away games in particular. And those were my earliest memories. But I owe Big Kitchen Alan Dorney a bit for being 2 giants at the back.
2 fantastic role models, Phil. 2 fantastic role models.
Can you imagine just being a kid and looking at them 2 under lights and seeing them win headers and win tackles and put their heart and soul into the game, and you just think, that's me. And I did knuckle down. I trained probably 5 days a week. As a 15-year-old, I was training at Charlton, I was training at Arsenal, I was training at Millwall under Billy Neal. I was playing 4 games every weekend. I played for my school in the morning. I played for the district, Blackheath, in the afternoon. On Sundays, I played for Charterhouse Boys Club and my Sunday team. And there's quite often there'd be 4 games every weekend. And I'm suffering now, artificial hip and everything else. But in them days, all I wanted to do was play football. And the more football meant I got better, and the rest is history, really. But yeah, great times, great memories. And thanks to Kitchen Alan Dorney, big time.
Hi, Phil. It's great to hear you talk about that first time when you walk into the den and see that pitch. Same thing happened to me when I was a kid. Anyway, let's go back. When you played with your brother, very often during your second spell with us, how was it playing alongside Nick?
When you're there, the doctors offered me a 2-year deal, and he put me on money because obviously I'm older than Nick by 6 years. So he put me on my wages, and he called Nick in and said, "I'll give your brother this money. I better put you on the same." So Nick got a pay rise out of me. So that was one good thing. But it's absolutely brilliant because obviously you start training, and Nick's in the first team, I'm in the reserves, and then you get called up by the doctor playing the first team, and you think you're sitting next to your brother in the changing rooms, and you just get on with the game. But when you got time to look back, it's just absolutely brilliant. Things like that don't happen to most people, certainly not too often. And I know I'm one of a set of 5 brothers that play for the club. I'm not sure if they all played in the same team at the same time, because I certainly did with my brother. And to play in what is now the Championship next to your brother, we were both fans. We both came up through the youth team, and we were in that squad that won promotion the following season. But I played quite a few games in the 86-87 team next to Nick. And he was brilliant, Nick. I mean, I know some fans slaughter him, but I can say this in defence of him: he's the only left back the club's ever got that got a Championship winners medal. And he did his job, Nick. He nailed every winger. And I'll tell you what, you asked Jimmy Carter, he never went near him in training because Nick nailed you in training as well. He was solid, he was hard. And if he tackled you, mate, he wanted to hurt you. And he was a determined little so-and-so. And what some fans, I was explaining this on Saturday at the Den, John Dougherty gave him his orders: stay at the back, you're the quickest, I'll let others go up for free kicks and corners, you're my central player, you shore it up at the back. And Doc trusted him. And I spoke to the Doc a little while ago, a few years ago, and he said he was the best defensive fullback in the country at the time. And nothing fancy, just a defender. Nick had great pace, honest, and he used his left foot. He either passed it to Callie, dropped it into Ted, or hit Cass with a big diagonal. And I think he gets 7 out of 10 every game. And but the funny thing was with Nick, he walked across the white line, and he was an absolute animal. He'd hurt you if he got a chance to tackle you, he'd do you. But when the referee blew the final whistle and he walked off, completely and utterly switched off the game. And honestly, he had this capacity to be on the pitch and then completely and utterly switch off. And I've got a couple of little stories about him. We played Derby, and I'm playing right back, and I'm giving Nigel Callaghan, the winger for Derby, I'm giving him an absolute shoeing. I'm kicking him all over the place because we had history. And after about 65 minutes, Callaghan shouted to his boss, I'll go and play on the other wing. I went, yeah, go on, off you go. My brother's at left back, he'll sort you out. Nick finished him off, he limped off. And there's one other thing. There's one other thing about Nick. He's had 3 promotions with 3 Scottish managers. So George Graham, as a 19-year-old, lent me brother out to Swindon to Lou Macari, and he played 17 games in Swindon, winning the league that year. And then he came back and played 2 or 3 games at the end of the season where George Graham took the club up, promotion season, in 85, I think that was. Nick played about 3 games at the end of that season. Then obviously he was part of John Dock's team that got promotion. So he's had 3 promotions with 3 Scottish managers. But yeah, there's not many people can say they played in the same team in the old Division 2 with a brother. So I'm proud of him.
Phil, you had a second career as a PE teacher, which you've recently retired from. You've also had coaching roles across non-league. Have you got any more coaching jobs lined up your sleeve?
I'm available, Steve, anytime. Just give me a call and I'll come in and sort your defence out. It might not be pretty, but I'll have them tackling and heading and punching and kicking, that's for sure. But No, I just retired from PE in the summer, just under 33 years. I mean, loved the job. I really did love putting school teams together. It don't matter what it was, football, rugby, basketball, cricket, athletics, even a cross-country team. And that was great. Learned a lot as well, how to deal with young people and everything that went with it. I coached at Colchester United for about 6 years in their academy when they started it up. And then last year I was at Braintree in the National League South, and the manager and as his assistant, my brother-in-law, asked me to go in and help out the back four, and that was easy, getting them to do all the basics of defending, but do it really well time and time again. But no, Steve, I'm open to offers, and I've had a few bits. A friend of mine as a manager, he asked me to go in and do some defensive stuff with them, and I've done some one-to-one coaching with youngsters, sorting out the basics. And if you put a gun to me, I think the best job for me now, with all the experience and knowledge that I've got, is to help out young coaches. You know, I've got a lot of experience, and teaching PE for 33 years, I know how to break it down and build it. And from the professional level right down to 5-year-olds, up and down those age groups and different teams in different ways. And I see a lot of young coaches, and they're struggling. And the FA don't do them any favours. I'm not an FA man, and these guys are trying to run Sunday teams, and they're trying to run school teams, and I would just love to go in and help them out and say, try this and try that. So, but to pass on the experience that I've had, I've been incredibly lucky, professional football and teaching PE, and I'd like to share it. So, if anyone's out there, I'll be delighted to come and help you out, and look forward to the offers. But the pro game, I'm afraid, is probably all down to having enough FA badges and coaching qualifications, and my experience probably doesn't count towards that. But that's the way the FA want to go. So no, I'm good, Steve. Thanks, and open to offers.
Hi, Phil. Thanks for joining us, mate. As you know very well, it's a tradition on the show for guests to make a prediction for our upcoming games. Well, we face Southampton on Saturday. Sorry to be evil, but can you give us a prediction?
God, cheers, Miles. Listen, Southampton, the quality side, they've got their parachute money. The £40 million allows them to keep top quality players. So, no illusions. That is one tough game, but it's the Championship, and I'll be the first to say on these podcasts that in the Championship, everybody can beat everybody. And Neil Harris has gone in there. There will certainly be an uplift in our performance. I would probably suggest we will come away with a point. But if we don't, and being pessimistic, and we get beat, I'll be looking at the next 12 games where there are teams not of Southampton's calibre. But I'd probably go. I'll put myself down for a 1-1 draw. We'll come away with a point.
Fair play to you, mate. Thank you for coming on, mate. Speak to you soon, mate.
Lovely. Cheers, guys.
Cheers, Phil. Cheers, mate.
Cheers, Phil. Thanks, Phil, mate.
Love it, as ever.
We'll take a break there and hear from Paul Owens, who talks about Fisher FC.
Hi, I'm Paul, a Millwall and Fisher FC supporter. There's always been strong links between our clubs, and as such, Fisher FC would like to remind Millwall season ticket holders and supporters club members that entry to watch Fisher is just a £5 if you show your card at the gate.
I'm your host, Myles Thornton, and with me are the Noel Isis talking team of Ted, Dave and Steve. Let's hear now from Ellis Barr.
Hello, Ellis here, and I'm glad to be back talking about Millwall. I know many have watched my videos, so you will all know that I don't wear splints as much anymore. Thanks for your support along the way. It is now time to hear what all the Millwall teams are up to. Come on, Millwall!
Come on, Millwall, indeed. Thanks as always, Ellis. Mill Romans and Pride General Manager Paul Loden and Pride Manager Andy Dolan gave a report to Maritime Radio.
And it was the GFSN Cup quarter-finals for Millwall Romans and a league fixture in Division 2 of the London Unity League for Millwall Pride last weekend. Eamon caught up with Paul Loading and Andy Dolan.
Both Millwall Romans and Pride played last Sunday, and first up is Paul Loading for Millwall Romans.
The Romans travelled west out to Bristol in the quarter-finals of the GFSN Cup. This was the delayed fixture. Never played Bristol before, not too sure what we were getting into. We started the game off in our normal 4-3-3 that we've been playing this season. Started okay. Sometimes when we go on the road, we do seem to start a little bit slower, and it never helps us with the travelling. But we didn't start too bad and managed to settle into the game. Bristol were trying to play football, but we just seemed to just go after everything. We were very attackive, very tenacious. Everyone was winning their battles. The pitch was a little bit smaller than what we were used to, which did take us a little bit of time to adapt to that. The midfield was getting a little bit congested. But once we expanded the play to create a bit more space by the back four dropping off a lot more, it gave us a little bit more options to then play in the midfield, and some lovely play led us into half-time at 2-0. Second half was essentially the same. Bristol, we felt were going to come out a little bit more sort of guns blazing, but they didn't really. I don't think they could really break down our back four. But yeah, we started very similar. Started to say just trying to create that little bit more space in the midfield with the pitch being very tight, with particularly the centre backs dropping off slightly. But yeah, we just continued playing our game and managed to finish the game at 6-0.
So great success for Millwall Romans, but it was a bit different for Millwall Pride, and Andy Dolan tells a short but sweet story of what happened to them against Titans in Barnes on Sunday.
Probably one of the best games I've actually been involved in LUL the whole time I've played. I think we went 1-0 up, 2-1 down, 3-2 up, then 4-3 down. So it was proper back and forth. And good game played in a good spirit. Bit disappointing, second 4-3 defeat in a few weeks. So just need to tighten up at the back a little bit.
In the semi-final, on a date to be agreed, Charlton Invicta will host Millwall Romans, and we'll keep you up to date on that in our weekly updates.
Paul Loading also gave us a prediction for Saturday's game away to Southampton.
This weekend's the Millwall team away to Southampton. I managed to get to the Den on Saturday. We presented an award to Steve Kavanagh for his help and support that he's given us over the team. And then I managed to stay and watch the game, which, to be honest, I'd managed to catch up with Eamon just before the game, and he did say to me what to expect, and just two very, very sloppy goals. It just doesn't look great at the moment. Yeah, very, very frustrated. I could tell all the fans getting very, very frustrated. I think we definitely need to pick up some points because I can't see them staying up this year. It seemed a bit clueless on what to do. So, yeah, let's just put it out low for let's say 1-0 to Millwall.
Jeff Burnage filed a report for Maritime Radio following the Millwall Lionesses' cruel loss to AFC Wimbledon on Sunday. Let's hear from Jeff.
Everything local for South East London and North West Kent. It's Maritime Radio with Sagala and Ella Henderson. We got love. So Millwall Lionesses travelled to Carshalton to face higher National League opposition in the form of Wimbledon in the quarter-final of the Capital Cup. Wimbledon had only lost 2 of their league games this season, and it was going to be a big task for the Lionesses to overhaul the high-flying Dons. Jeff Burnage picks up the story.
Millwall Lionesses narrowly lost 2-1 to AFC Wimbledon in the Capital Cup on Sunday. The Duns are top of the National League South East, and this quarter-final was played in front of a very large crowd at Carshalton Athletic FC. The Millwall side still lack a centre-forward since the loss of Emma Witter, and Madison Grandis moved from her regular slot out wide to play there on this occasion. Wimbledon are a very confident side and have won 13 of their 15 National League games this season. But the Lionesses went 1-0 down early on when their highly rated goalkeeper, Chrissy Wiggins, was beaten on her near post by an Emily Donovan shot she probably should have saved comfortably. Ellie Dorey made it 2-0. The Lionesses had looked good going forward, so it was a great pity that they went in at half-time 2-0 down. 2 very soft goals, although the Dons had, to be fair, been the better side. Co-managers Alex Russell and Adam Rowland brought on winger Liv McGregor for a stint at centre-forward, allowing Grandis to replace Ellen Napper on the right. Their instructions were to at least draw the second half. On the hour, Shannon Drew's corner went straight into the net to reduce the arrears. Club captain Jordan Butler came on at centre-back, and then the co-managers brought on Chloe Burr, Shay Bennett and Maisie Joyce to completely change the midfield. Two controversial incidents towards the end went Wimbledon's way. On 84 minutes, Chloe Burr hit a thunderous shot, which was only half saved by Lauren Allen, the ball falling behind her before she scooped it back off the line. Many of those watching felt it had crossed the line, but the linesman was not well placed and no goal was given. Then Allen raced out of the goal to bring down Liv McGregor on the edge of the box. Perhaps influenced by the injury, which seemed serious, the referee restarted play with a free kick to Wimbledon when it should definitely have been a penalty to Millwall. But to be fair, Wimbledon had many more shots in this game than Millwall, and the 2-1 defeat and winning the second half was considered a highly creditable performance by the Lionesses. I caught up with disappointed Alex Russell at pitchside on the final whistle. Alex, right after the game now, how do you feel now that we've gone out of the Capital Cup 2-1 to a very high-flying side in Wimbledon?
Look, I know it's a cliche, but there's a lot of positives to take from the game, particularly the second half. We won the second half 1-0. Some to very few chances, and I'll be honest, probably very fortunate for both of their goals. A little bit of luck involved with ours, but it shows how far we've come as a group, that from when we took over where we were to now competing against a team that are potentially going to win the league above. It's very promising and very good signs for us.
Is there anything in we're particularly pleased with?
I'm not really one to highlight individuals. I think we were really good across the pitch. Dealt with their threats in terms of them going forward, so our back line were all good, midfield locked on. They're really sort of erratic and like Duracell bunnies in there, so keeping up and tracking runners. And then our front three is a different front three, but limited them and created probably the most of the chances ourselves.
Thanks a lot, good luck next week.
Now then, panel, Millwall head to Southampton on Saturday for Neil Harris's first game in charge since his return. Can't believe I'm saying that. We'll start with you, Ted. Can I get a prediction?
A more interesting prediction would be the team, I think, for Saturday, Myles. What's Neil's first team going to be? That's going to be very interesting. But I'll say one thing for Neil. He's come back at a reasonably good time because we do seem to be getting one or two of our injured players back. I believe Obafemi's been training this week, so hopefully he's going to be fit against what is one of his old clubs. So I think it'd be important to get his pace somewhere into the game at some point or the other. Southampton surprisingly lost the other night, but it is a game in their legs that they've had. The Neil Harris bounce, should we call it that, may well come into effect, and I'm reasonably hopeful that we may well find ourselves, and I'm grasping at the straws here, but I'm going to go for a 1-0 victory.
What have you been drinking, Ted? Dave, what about you, mate?
Yeah, I'd love to say we're going to win. I'd love to say we're going to win, but Southampton are going to want some comeback from the game in the week, and we're the ideal hat peg to put their mark on. So I'm going to be a bit optimistic and go with a 1-1.
And what about you, Steve?
Well, I agree. I think it's probably going to be a 1-1 draw. But, there's a big part of me that thinks maybe just that Neil bounce, maybe we might nick it. So I'm actually going to go 1-0 Millwall, and I reckon Fleming's going to score with one of those free kicks finally.
I'm gonna stick with
what you've been drinking, Steve.
Exactly. I'm gonna stick with Dave and Phil because I can't see us winning away at Southampton. It'd be nice, but I can't see it. But a draw away at Southampton will be just as good. So I'm going to go.
Stranger things have happened, Miles. Stranger things have happened.
Very true. Very, very true. We'll take a break there and hear Bethany Mangtelo talking about Mill Community Trust.
The Millwall Community Trust is something that I, Bethany Mangtelo, admire for all that it does. The Trust was established in 1985, works to provide sporting, education, social and healthy lifestyle opportunities to the local community in Southwark, Lewisham, North Kent and the wider community. Its work is targeted at people of all ages, irrespective of race, gender, or sexual orientation and runs programmes aimed at tackling social exclusion, racism, knife crime, lack of employment opportunities for young people, mental health, and disability issues. The Trust aims to be a progressive and campaigning charity that makes a difference to ordinary people's lives. Its work is undeniably essential to the local community. They have sponsorship opportunities to support this work. Email commercial@millwallcommunity.org.uk. I'll say that again. That is email commercial@millwallcommunity.org.uk. Please help if you can.
I'm your host, Myles Thornton, and with me are the No One Likes Us Talking team of Ted, Dave and Steve. If you can donate, it will help our Millwall Community Trust to deliver all their programmes across all age groups to people within our community. I'm your host, Myles Thornton, and with me are the No One Likes Us Talking team of Ted, Dave and Steve. If you can donate, it will help our Millwall Community Trust to deliver all the programmes across all age groups to the people within our community. Our second guest tonight is a Millwall fan, man and boy. He works in education and has previously been a member of the No One Likes Us Talking team. Welcome to the show, Henry Morgan.
Evening, guys. How you doing?
Hello, Henry.
You all right?
Yeah, all good here, thanks.
Before we get going, Henry, how have you been and what do you do to keep yourself busy these days?
I keep myself busy. I've got 2 children now, Miles. That's it. That's what I spend most of my time doing is looking after them. Yeah, and then working back in education in a school in Erith. So yeah, I mean that's kept me pretty busy, to be fair, over the last 18 months or so. But yeah, it's lovely to be back on the show, guys. Lovely to speak to you all again.
Ted here, Henry. How are you, mate? All right?
Hey, Ted. All right, mate. How you doing, fella? You good?
My heart just sunk for you doing the school down in Erith. Oh my God! Good luck to you, mate. You survive every day, do you?
Mate, it's I love it. I love it down there. It's proper. Don't worry about that.
Yeah,
really good.
Not far from my neck of the woods, mate. Not far. But what have you made of the last 48 hours as a Millwall fan then, Henry? You must have a few thoughts about what's been going on.
I don't really know where to start with it, to be honest. I went to the game on Saturday and it was dire. There were no patterns of play. It looked like we had a real patched up team. Our defence, I think, has been on the blink for a while now, and it felt like it needed a change, but I wasn't expecting what come next. I've got to be honest with you. Neil Harris, I mean, look, my heart says, welcome back to the club, Millwall legend. Geezer's our top goal scorer of all time. You know, what a fantastic individual to have in and around the club. But my head says, what on earth are we doing as a football club? We said, in 2015, 16, 17, we said he'd taken us as far as we could as a club at this level. And we've gone back to having him again at this level. Now, look, he might keep us up. He's the kind of player that loves the scrap and has all that kind of stuff going on. Fantastic. But at the same time, he's not someone that's going to develop Joe Edwards was an appointment looking to the future. Neil Harris is not the future of this football club. As much as I love the guy, he's not the future of this football club. We were going to go back to 4-4-2 hoofball, which was the biggest criticism everyone had about him. And one of the British criticisms about Gary Rowett. I didn't think we played a lot of hoofball under Gary Rowett, but I've got to be honest with you, Ted, I cannot get my head around it.
Do you not think he may have changed, though, as a manager, having had these years away? I've not really looked at any of his sides of late, but he claims to be a different man now.
From his time at Cardiff? Okay, look, he made the playoffs at Cardiff, fair play, yeah, but the next season he got let go. He did an okay job at Gillingham. I think he was let go prematurely by the club down there. I mean, I'm down Medway, so I've followed him quite a bit there. I think he only lost 3 games on the bounce and he got the heave-ho. He wasn't exactly ripping it up at Cambridge, was he? He was 17th Cambridge was 17th when they left. He'd won 4 games all season, something like that. The thing that I worry about is if he hasn't changed, we do not have the team now. We don't have the defence structure now to play the type of game that he played when we were there before. Soak up pressure, hit them on the break. We don't have the defenders that are good enough to play that system anymore. That's what I'm worried about. I hope I'm wrong, but that's what I'm worried about. Maybe he has, or maybe I'm wrong, but...
Hi, Henry. It's Dave here.
Hey, Dave. All right, mate. How are you?
Good, thanks. I'm listening to you talking with Ted. Totally agree. Anyway, let's move on a bit. You've followed Millwall most of your life, well, all of your life, I suppose, and you've been to so many games. But have you got a game that stands out more than most? Maybe have you got one away and one at home?
Okay, well, look, I'm going to go. The away game I'm going to go for here is a bit of a random one, but the first season we got promoted off with Mark McGee, so this must be 2001. We went to Palace away, and there must have been in the halfway stand that day. There must have been about 6,500, 7,000 Millwall fans on that halfway line. And we ended up beating them 3-1. I don't know if you remember it, but like it was 2-1 with about a minute to go. Yeah. And there was carnage down one end, and Steve Claridge made this breakaway. The goalkeeper come out, he knocked the ball past him and rolled it slowly into the net from about, 25 yards out. And everyone was just going absolutely mental. And it was, a huge game for us because we hadn't played Palace for a while, I don't think. We'd been down for 4 or 5 seasons. I think the last time we played them actually was the year we got relegated and we lost 4-1 at the Den to them. So it was a big moment for me that we were like back in the Championship. There were a few away games from that season as well. Actually, I went to that West Brom game on a Thursday night. But I think for me, that Palace away game is right up there with my all-time memories of watching Millwall. Home game, that's a difficult one. We've had some big nights at the Den. Probably in more recent times, it's hard to look beyond the Huddersfield playoff game, which I think was back in 2009 or 2010. That was a huge night at the Den. Or it would either be between that or when we played probably Everton in the FA Cup. Saying that was under Harris, wasn't it? That was a fantastic game of football. What a night there, and that had a bit of everything that Millwall's about, right? That game against Everton. So probably those two I'd go with. Those games they stand out for me.
Hi Henry, Steve here.
Hey, Steve, all right?
Yeah, good. Not sure if you're going to the Southampton game, but of course it's going to be Neil's first game back in charge. Can we be sort of nice and ask for a prediction from you?
Oh, jeez, yeah. Okay, well, his first game back, Southampton, they only haven't lost for I don't know how many games. So fortune says that they're going to have to lose at some time, right? I'm going to go for a 2-1 Millwall victory. I am going to go for, I've got no clue who's going to score. I'm going to Tom Bradshaw brace. Why not? 2-1 Millwall victory at Southampton. You heard it here first. It's happening.
Good man.
Well done, Henry.
Yeah.
Henry, thanks very much for joining us, mate, and telling your stories. Hopefully speak to you again soon.
Yeah, all right, speak to you guys soon. All right, take care.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers, Henry.
Yeah, take care.
Cheers, guys. Bye. Take care. Bye-bye.
We'll take a break there and hear from Bethany Mangtelo talking about, Ted's favourite ad, Clean Feed.
Bethany Mangtelo here. Clean Feed by Ted Robinson.
Hold up. We're talking about an online recording platform.
Okay. Our Ted Robinson sponsors our online Clean Feed recording platform.
What were you thinking of?
Well, it sounded like a Parfum D'Homme Intense.
Really?
Behave. Just go online and see who else uses Clean Feed. It's a great bit of kit at a great price.
I'm your host, Myles Thornton, and with me are the non-lights.
Hold on, Miles. Steve, can I put an official request in here, please? Have a word with your daughter. Thank you. Carry on, Miles.
I'm your host, Myles Thornton, and with me are the non-lights talking team of Dave, Steve, and the famous Ted. We're all looking forward to the next game, but in the meantime, here are a few matters of interest for Millwall fans and those interested in football.
Millwall's fixture on Saturday, the 2nd of March, 2024, against Watford, will play host to Millwall's annual Community Day, where Millwall Community Trust will showcase the range of programmes that the club offers to the local community. In the build-up to the game, the Trust will use the Lions Centre and some of the club's car park to showcase a small part of their work in the local community. Members of the No One Likes Us Talking team will be in attendance, so please say hello if you see us.
Next week, the show will be back with the wonderful Myles hosting and a panel of Jeff, a mystery panellist, and Stan. I know what a mystery panellist is. It's Pat, isn't it? She's always a mystery to me. It must be Pat. But anyway, that is the show next week.
Millwall Lionesses host Saltdean United Ladies on Sunday at St Paul's Ground, Rotherhithe. Get down there and support the girls as they look to push higher and higher up the league.
Don't forget you'll be able to listen to the No One Likes Us Talking team, bring reports from games both home and away for both the Lions and Lionesses, and also updates on Millwall Community Matters too, on Maritime Radio, broadcasting on 96.5 FM. Additionally, you can find us on Instagram, Facebook and X, formerly Twitter, social media sites and all popular podcast sites. That's it from me. Thanks, Ted.
Cheers, Myles, and good luck, Neil, with his first game.
Thanks, Dave.
Thanks, Myles, and good night to everyone.
And thanks, Steve.
Thanks, Myles. Been a good show.
And thank you all for listening. Finally, let's not forget to keep it safe on the streets out there. Good night.
Our Millwall Fan Show is sponsored by G&M Motors of Gravesend, Honda dealers and much more. Thank you.